and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayuwa Mesale, and today I'm joined by my amazing co-anchors. We have Milola in the building, all glowing up.
The Milola glow.
The Milola glow, that's it. And Nama Efanga, how are you?
I'm great, and I'm in a good place.
I love that.
Yeah.
So tell us why you're in a good place.
Oh yes, because like I say, health is not a luxury. It's a must-have. So every time you find yourself feeling inadequate because you are sick or you're not feeling well, you value the time you had when you could do everything for yourself. So I'm, like I said, in a good place.
Lala, how was today?
Today was
You're
good.
rounding up for the weekend.
Am I done? I really don't shut down until Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah, because whether I'm actively in the store or not, I'm still online. My business starts when I wake up and it closes when I close my eyes. So I'm still at work.
Okay.
Well done.
Hope we're hanging out tonight, though.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So today, wait. Who are the people wearing jewelry? Let me start counting how much jewelry you are worth today. Let me
Myself.
calculate. In fact, today that we're not talking jewelry, and I forgot.
Small.
You don't forget.
Tiny.
I forgot my wristwatch. Forgot everything.
Is that deliberate?
It's not. Oh.
Okay. Maybe you're trying to portray modesty.
We found a very interesting video. I think this video actually, it was like 2 months ago. But,
Right.
we decided to talk about it today. And here's what we found as today's quote. Property is in its nature timid and seeks protection, and nothing is more gratifying to the government than to become a protector. So this quote for me, it just sinks in with the fact that public funds were used, to purchase some of the things that we're talking about, Desiani today, and all of that. So for me, I'm just wondering, where was the government protecting those properties? Where was the government? So that's the conversation for tonight, and we have an amazing guest. So have you ever wondered what happens when there's an asset for feature? We've been hearing asset for feature. $14 billion, I mean $14 billion naira worth of jewelry.
14 billion naira.
14 billion naira worth of jewelry. So there's a forfeiture. So have you ever wondered what happens when there's a forfeiture? And that's a question tonight. And Ikemesit Efyong is here to talk to us on this and the impact on the economy. But first, we'll take a break to see what we found in the news. Alrighty, so you're still watching Ways. Celebrating its first year of existence in 1976, the Left-Handers International Organization helped raise awareness. Yes, I'm coming to you, to the myriad of difficulties that can be faced by people who are left-handed. All right, so being accused of witchcraft in the 1600s for just using one hand more than the other was only the beginning, since only 10% of the population is left-handed. Various items made, especially for those who are left-handed, are typically more expensive than right-handed counterparts. Now, objects such as scissors, knives, and even school desk can see a markup of about almost 75% more for left-handed individuals. Even sport fanatics will pay more or pay out through their nose, as golf clubs sometimes see as high as 200% increase depending on the brand. So, but even though it can be really difficult and admittedly a bit more expensive, those left-handers in the world are certainly unique and interesting people. And this is the perfect day to celebrate them. Like, I am wearing a piece by Milola today.
Tell
and
them.
She's left-handed.
Tell them you're a Milola woman.
I'm
Fully.
Whenever I see you writing with your left hand, I say, hey. But there's something about left-handed people. I mean, Fashola is left-handed.
I think Barack
Obama is
yes.
left-handed. So you will see, they just stand out.
No, I've always known a lot left-handed people to be very, very intelligent, highly intelligent. I have a niece that is left-handed, and she's so smart, is unbelievable. So it's I don't know, like they say, what you don't understand, you mystify. So when you don't understand that everybody's using the right hand, and then you are the only one, that means there's something wrong with
strange
you.
about you.
Something
My
wrong with you.
uncle was beaten. They
Right.
beat the left hand out
My
of him.
stepmom used to beat me to stop my left hand,
Wow.
and I would get caned, and I would suffer not getting my meal because
Wow.
I'm left-handed.
Wow.
But I struggled. I tried to use my right hand, but I never got around doing it. So with
Well-
time, until one pastor rescued me from her
Wow.
and said, "You have to understand that this thing comes naturally to you. I mean, nobody teaches a child
What
use
to?
your right
You
hand
keep
or use your left
watching
hand.
the
You
child
you just
until they're
manifest
sure.
based on your mental states. And really, it's interesting that people. But now I think we are
No,
perceived
now
to
I
be.
used to, yeah,
We're
geniuses.
smart.
Now everybody's
As you can
accepting
see,
of it.
I'm wearing one piece.
Yes, so
You
Miola,
love my outfit. Hook her
Full
up.
with the
Everything. Oh, yes, so
Chopsticks.
with the chopsticks.
you look so Korean, babe.
I am. You know, I have some roots there.
You're
I've got to ask my
connecting with
parents.
your
My
Asian
My
roots.
I
Asian
know,
roots.
right? My friend used to say to me, "Damilola, I found your dad in China." I said, "Let my mom hear you.
Yeah.
You will hear it."
You know, but I'm happy that the awareness has come, and a lot of people are now beginning to embrace the fact that
And be
people
proud
yes,
to be
people are
left-handed.
different. People
Very
are different.
proud.
You know, it was a
Almost-
respect thing that you can't give an elder. You know, when you're
Yes,
left-handed.
yes.
Even
It's a
now,
cultural
Yeah.
thing.
But I'm
for so
sure that
many
you did it
people.
because some people that
Almost-
I know of, because they try to force them to use their right hand. So what they do now, they write with both hands. I know people that
Yes.
work with
I
both
But
tried
hands.
to
even
write with my
Uwa,
right
there's some people who were forced, and at the end of the day, they got
got messed
disoriented.
up. Yes.
Completely disoriented.
It happens.
Because there's a natural programming, and then when you try to alter it, the person loses.
Sense of
Their
direction.
sense-
One thing
yeah.
I suffered though, with me being left-handed, is when I get to a junction, I need to decide, do I want to go right or do I
Oh,
wanna go
yeah.
left? I have to pause because I would naturally go to my left. It's like an auto
Program.
drive.
So
Yeah.
you should be
I
in the
would
UK.
tend to go to my left before I say, wait a minute, are you going right or
going
left? Yes. That much I can tell. So it has to do with the brain, and it's not something that you
Yes,
can
absolutely.
just culturally change. It doesn't make sense.
I'm happy I know you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so what did we find in the news? So let me start with number 5, I think.
Oh, right. That's why I don't like sitting on this chair. Anyway, so in the news, we have I have a very interesting story that had to do with cars in Nigeria. So it said the Minister of Finance and Budget and National Planning, Hajia Ahmed Zainab, said that majority of vehicles that have been imported into Nigeria were stolen. Very
That's the news.
it was a shock. So the minister said that this occurrence happened. I'm sorry. The statistics, right? The National Bureau of Statistics confirmed that between 2015 and 2019, that Nigerians imported an average of 300,000 vehicles, with an average of 48% increase in import annually, while additional 45% of vehicles are smuggled into the country annually, thus evading duty payment, of which 40% of these vehicles were stolen. So you cannot imagine. I'm asking myself most of the time, well, I don't know about others, but before, when you hear, oh, you want to buy a car, you would check the VIN number, right? Unfortunately, I don't know how they are able to ship in
No, but you see,
stolen
let me tell you
vehicles,
something.
because up till the US,
Yes, the
you
ports,
can
you can still
get
trace
those
you can
data.
still
Yes.
trace them.
So the problem is us. It is our data. It is us, our statistics. Do you understand? It is now tidying up this, because what she's just saying basically is exposing our inefficiency. Like abroad, when you want to, even from Nigeria,
Yeah.
if they send you,
You would
pictures
just,
of the cars, if you want to check the history of the car, the accidents,
in the-
maybe been
yeah, if it's
accidented and all of
accidented,
that,
yeah,
you can
absolutely.
always just put the VIN number
It
on.
only gives you everything within the US boundaries. not
Yes,
everywhere.
that's my point. So when
So
it
we
gets
have no data.
So what is she gonna do about?
But do you know what I realized
recording
is?
it?
I
Yeah.
So
had an
Nigerians now
experience
knows.
when customs stopped me on the road and they were asking about my custom papers. If you have to travel outside of Lagos State, you'd have to experience this. And I realized that the custom guys have up-to-date data.
Yes.
They could pull up the state in which the car came into the country. I reckon that's where they got all that information from.
Yeah.
But it's amazing that it's been allowed, because that's the only explanation for that. They can track it. It is proven.
True.
So it's been allowed. Why has it been allowed? That's not a question for the buyers to answer. It's for the government to answer.
Up to 300,000 vehicles.
That's
so Nigeria, making Nigeria the hub for stolen vehicles. I mean, our reputation continues to precede us.
It is well.
Sadly so.
All right, Milola, what did you find for us?
What I have in the news today is very exciting. It's on Linda Ikeji's blog.
Okay.
A JSS1 student who claims to have been picked out during a school assembly on May 2nd and given 20 lashes over an indecent hairstyle on the order of the principal was suspended. And what did she do? She filed a lawsuit against the
school?
No, the government.
Oh. Okay.
She filed a lawsuit against the Ekiti state government. I reckon that she's tried to seek. What she said is that the beating led to her fainting and she only got resuscitated. I think that was a bit extreme. But what she's doing is she's seeking 15 million in damages for breach of her fundamental rights and an immediate reinstatement to school with unfettered access to all services. Very brazen, if you ask me. I've never seen such a thing happen in Nigeria.
That is very bold.
I just don't know why and who suggested to her to sue a government. Why a government, though?
Exactly my thoughts, though.
She's claimed that she had bruises, life-threatening scars, and blood stains on the uniform. And she added that she fainted and was rushed to the police clinic in Ado Ekiti, where she was resuscitated.
So I like the fact that she's suing them.
You do?
Yes. So we
I do not agree with that.
No, we can't continue to accommodate impunity.
Okay.
You understand? Hairstyle. I mean, I've been flogged
I'd love
before.
to see that hairstyle.
My dear,
Yeah.
I've been flogged before and the cane had spikes on it and it burst through my skin and my hand was bleeding.
And
my father went to the school. He took the same koboko and he was going to flog the principal. He took the intervention of all the teachers to come and hold him. You don't do that. So
that's why you agree with this.
No, that's one. I will tell you the second one. The problem has always been that as we are, a lot of times teachers just feel that they can do anything and get away with it, right? And because we are not a country that actually demand for our fundamental human rights. My case, we lived in two extreme ends in Kaduna State. It was like living in Turuoda and going to, so it's like living in Ekpe and going to school in Magodo. Do you understand? They already knew our history. He was a new principal. I kept on explaining to this man, but you
were late. You were
yes, we were 5 minutes late. And we wake up at 4 a.m. So it's not a fact that, oh, maybe we woke up late. And that particular day, I think my dad's car broke down. And we explained to the teacher. He kept on insisting and he flogged us. I said, no problem. So that was mine. My own sister, my older sister's hair used to be extremely long. And it was all natural. So she braided her hair and it came like this because it was very long.
Because she had extensions.
Yes, the school nurse, without even asking questions. I don't have extensions on. This is my hair. The woman don't believe. It is jealousy now. She now took scissors and cut my sister's hair.
What happened to telling her to take it out?
You're not even getting the point. At least you should have loosened it to see if
there's an extension.
She kept on telling you there is no extension. So why do teachers think it is okay for you to get away with some things?
Then again,
this is very touching.
That's why I said I am happy.
The situation is also very cultural. Because there are other ways of being able to extend punishment if you think that a child is deserving of it.
Absolutely.
Without it being brutal. Why would you have to cut a child's hair, for example, or even flog a child until blood begins to come out?
Forget culture, don't
So
worry.
now that the young girl has chosen to sue, it's like an eye-opener. Yes. I mean, that was really bold, even though extreme, but it's a wake-up call for something that needs attention, especially when children are involved. There's so many other ways you can punish a child.
I do not think that we should make it okay for every child that get punished in school.
No, that's not what what I said is it's a wake-up call. Even though extreme, but it's a wake-up call because some people need to be called.
I agree.
called
I was flogged
out
like that once.
on certain
Were you in school when
certain behavior that
if you are
is
able to
not
dust
is
the
not
cane, it
is
means
not.
how strong you are. And if you cry while you're being flogged, you're for your own hand.
I was at a school. I was at a school some years ago,
Quickly.
and a young boy. I mean, in the school, of course, when you come, you already see the teacher with the cane already looking for who to flog.
Yes.
Before you know it, he
Abuse.
was already hitting children,
Everybody.
and I found that very,
disturbing.
very
No,
discomforting.
we have
Yes.
to. Me, I commend the girl. Please, so let them pay you that money. Next time they'll take it to this thing. But my story is actually another interesting story because it's impunity. So the police released the YouTuber that was detained for criticizing the popular pastor. That's they wrote Mr. Apostle. I think he's Apostle Suleiman.
Okay.
Right. So this man, I've not seen the video of him criticizing, but in the video, it was said that Apostle Suleiman was praying, for the audience to receive some kind of mysterious money alerts. You understand? So this guy posted the video. I think he was criticizing him for that video. And of course, Apostle Suleiman now sent police to go and arrest this man. So according to what the lawyer was saying, I mean, if you see the bail conditions, first of all, the bail conditions were very stringent. It's as if this guy was a criminal. For something like this, the quickest thing or the easiest thing to do or the best thing to do if you want to follow the law is actually to charge the person or sue the person, right? So it is a court case. It's not something that has to do with
the police.
The police. So when you involve the police, is now becoming a criminal case. So and this is what we're talking about, abuse of power. Because you see this man is an influential man, is a whatever, you can just order the police. The same thing we're talking about Abba Kyari arresting on hush puppies order. So these are the kinds of conversations, that if we begin to have and we begin to follow due process, a lot of people will be prosecuted.
I think
the police, whoever it is that arrested that YouTuber, they should actually go and arrest them and let them pay for what they did.
My sister, the only reason why you feel so passionate about this is because this one made the news. There is no doubt that there's absolute impunity in our system. The police abusing their power. You get to the station sometimes, you see some case, you be like, why is this even in the police custody? And people feel helpless. If you do not know people, if you do not know who can take you out of those kind of, you just find yourself in a very,
in fact, they say bring one, bring three or four, if you see the bail conditions,
it's very unfortunate.
But good thing is that
people
they are releasing him after an hour when they
be
met
held
the bail
accountable.
conditions. Yes,
it's
let's
about
hold people
time.
accountable. This is actually absolute impunity and is wrong. Because you have power, you don't do whatever you think you like. Please sue away. All right, we'll take a break. We are talking jury matter. 14 billion naira water jury. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has said the seized pieces of jewelry from the former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Desiani Alisi-Madueke, had been valued at about 14.4 billion naira. The EFCC boss, that's Rashid Bawa, disclosed this when he appeared before the House of Rep ad hoc committee in May. Several questions coming to my mind, like why is there a delay in converting these assets to cash? And what is the process of reintegrating the money back into the Nigerian economy? And what are the measures put in place to checkmate corrupt government officials? Because if there was any measure at all, why on earth will one person have a jewelry worth 14.4 billion naira? This is just one person. Now imagine what is happening with the people that were there. Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4662. So I'm going to bring in a message in like a minute or two. I just wanted to hear your initial thoughts. When you saw that video, first of all, what I did, I just put my hand on my head. I said it. I said, I put my hand on my head. I said, yeah. So what came to your mind, Milena?
Multiple times. I was shocked. I was stunned. I could not believe that one person would amass such valuable jewelry. I don't know why we think that we need to have so much to become so much more. It's very, very disturbing, and it really shows that there's absolute impunity in this country. If you can become powerful, you can
get away with a lot of things.
You can abuse power. It's very disturbing for me, really.
Can you imagine? All right, so Norma, what came to your mind?
I saw it and I probably watched the video twice just to be sure I heard what I heard, 14 billion.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, wow, this is interesting. But I was sad. I was very sad because these are, for every time you have the opportunity to serve, it's an opportunity to make a difference, right? And every time I see people use the opportunities that they've been given to make a difference, for themselves. Let me put it that way. And 14 billion is not a joke. I can only imagine how much it can do if it is put to good use. So for one person to have that much jewelry, I don't usually, coincidentally, I had no idea that it was going to be that way, because probably what I have, I was given. I'm not a jewelry person per se, but even if you're going to buy jewelry, come on.
Okay.
There's an excessive
levels to this thing.
level
So, but
that people can
you
get
know, all
to.
this one people are talking, and they will be saying that it's because people have not.
And this is an estimated.
No, but you know,
no, it's what you do. It's how you do anything.
The truth about it,
everything. Look at how
I was just going to say that
situation.
who you are will always show up.
Yes.
In any
What
given
makes you
opportunity.
Okay, so let me bring in a chemist. He's a friend of the house who needs no introduction. He's the head of research at SBM Intelligence, and he's joining live via Zoom. Thank you so much, chemist.
Hi, hi everyone. Good evening. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, chemist. You need no introduction. So you heard our conversation, no, chemist. Biko, how can one human being have 14.4 billion naira worth of jewelry? You were trying to give me an explanation to how that can come about.
Yes, and I don't want to come across as a Diezani apologist, to be fair, but I think there's a way you can rationalize it. I mean, first, it's clear all of this jewelry were, foreign jewelry. She obviously acquired them in foreign currency. We know where the value of the naira is vis-a-vis, the dollar and the pound. So it's very easy for you to, when you do the conversion rate, come up with a news headline that's as sensational as that. So I think that's the first. I think that's the first place to begin with. But stop looking at the details that that were contained in the EFCC's release. It's also clear that she was a collector, and well, collectors at various levels. I think it was the number that was talking about the real you shining through and just money being an amplifier of who you really are. Clearly, Diezani had a thing for jewelry. I have a thing for fridge magnets. That's what I collect. Diezani had what? 419 bangles, 315 rings. More than 300 earrings, more than almost 300 necklaces, almost 200 wristwatches. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Almost 100 pendants, almost 100 bracelets, almost 100 brooches. I mean, clearly, this is the behavior and the attitude of a collector. So it's like, let's for a second forget about the fact that obviously she was a serving minister at the time when she according to the EFCC, started collecting these things. I just think about it from sort of like an individual behavioral perspective. She clearly likes jewelry. This was a thing she was collecting, not necessarily for use, but just because it gave her that dopamine kick to have as much of these things as possible. From that standpoint, it sort of makes sense. But when you add all of the other extra layers, she was the serving minister of a sovereign country. There are allegations that she was involved in, a lot of nefarious dealings with respect to, oil contracting, and that she used her influence as a serving minister to acquire and amass this very extraordinary wealth. Right, that Nigeria is now only beginning to have a sense of, and so when you top up all of those layers, all of these things that she acquired, and take notes, this is just the jewelry part that we're talking about. There are the houses and the homes, there are the bank accounts, there are all of the other assets and all of the other companies, right, that she's said to be a beneficiary owner of. So when you combine all of that and just sort of have a sense of how she acquired those in the first place, it does paint a very disturbing, picture of her time as a federal minister.
Okay, so Ikeme said, I'm happy that you went there, talking about the assets that is beyond the jewelry. We have houses, we have cars, which brings us to the top conversation of today. I just needed us to lay that foundation well, because I cannot understand why somebody will have 14 billion naira worth of jewelry, But honestly, hearing you speak, I actually do love jewelries. Anytime my husband wants to get me gifts, he either gets me a bracelet, what's it called, earrings, or I don't do chains. I hate chains. Maybe bracelet, earrings, and rings. Those are my thing. So I am thinking now, maybe if myself get there
to the tune of 14 billion.
No, it cannot get there.
It's possible.
Normal, that we have work of the Lord that we're doing with the children. I can't afford to think that there are children that cannot go to school.
At least you can.
The monies or whatever it is that they recover back into the system, because right now I think these forfeiture happened in 2019 and we're in 2021. Until now it has not been they've not auctioned it, nothing is happening. So how does this even play out, and how is it impacting the economy?
Okay, so I'll just talk you through how it is supposed to happen. Whether that actually is the case in reality is another matter. We live in Nigeria, so I'll allow the viewer make up their minds on the actual reality. But in terms of how it's supposed to work, obviously these things are supposed to happen pursuant to a judicial decision, right? So in the EFCC's case, and the EFCC has actually done this, right? They've gone to the courts. They've essentially made the argument that, not only were these items, including the jewelry, and the homes and the businesses and all of the other economic proceeds that accrued to, Ms. Desiani Alisimagweke, not only were those things hers, right, but she acquired those things because of her position, right, as a federal minister, and without that level of access, to the point around access that we are now discussing, without that access, she would not have come into possession of those properties. And so, all of those assets should be rightfully declared as the property of the Nigerian state, since she acquired, all of these things over the course of her service to the Nigerian state. When that judicial order is given, which in Desiani's case it has been given, and you said that it was given in 2019, and then an auction process, right, is supposed to happen. So the EFCC is supposed to put a call out, ideally in the media and in the newspapers, inviting people, right, to, at a particular time, at a particular date, and at a particular place to participate in, in the auctioning, right, of those assets. Now, the law isn't exactly clear on where that should happen. So it could, in theory, happen in Nigeria. It could also happen abroad, right? As long as the auction happens and it is managed by the Nigerian government, it fulfills sort of the legal requirements of it. When the auction does happen, the proceeds from those auctions are supposed to go into what is called the Consolidated Revenue Fund, which is, think of it as, the federal government, the Nigerian state bank account. So the primary bank account of the Nigerian state. I said it was the federal government's bank account, but it's actually, you can have proceeds from those funds that also go to the state and go to the local government, depending on what, depending on the mechanism with which those monies were acquired. So, for example, all of the proceeds from all of the crude that we sell goes into the Consolidated Revenue Fund. All of the proceeds that comes from the taxation, from the taxes that the federal government either is empowered to administer or is allowed to collect. You think VAT, for example, VAT is supposed to be collected for the benefits of the states and the local governments, as well as the federal government, but the federal government is the one that does the collecting. So any money that Nigeria earns goes into the Consolidated Revenue Fund. That's provided for by the Constitution, and then based off of that, the government can decide to disburse those monies as it sees fit. So that's really sort of how the process is supposed to happen. All of the monies, for example, that you routinely hear have been announced as the proceeds from the loot that our former military leaders acquired. All of those are also supposed to go into that Consolidated Revenue Fund. In theory, since those things happened because of a judicial decision, the courts are supposed to sort of have a say on how they are administered. Not an administrative say, but if things want to be withdrawn from that account, you need to go back to the courts and say, this is what we want to use, these monies that your court's decision has empowered us to acquire, to do, right? So, again, this is how it's supposed to happen in theory. In reality,
it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
How is that supposed to be managed?
No, I was asking you had a question?
No.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
No,
No, I'm just curious, Kimasit, to ask that it seems like Desiani's case is the one that is making the waves. Have there been any cases that had made the headlines such as this, or is it because of the era which we are in now that everybody's crying wolf, so to speak, in Desiani's case?
That's a very good question, right? So, the cases have been few and far between. I mean, there have been some very prominent ones. You'll probably remember Rashid Mina, the former head of the Police Pension Fund, and sort of like walking far into the distant past. Farouk Lawan was actually convicted, really, and he's supposed to be serving a prison sentence, as well as forfeiting on all of the assets they acquired, including the bribe that he was charged for. So there have been cases here and there that lots of us observers, especially in the civil society community, who rightly argue that there should be more, because the system that empowered the Desianis ostensibly to carry out all of the activities that they did, right, also empowered all of our other ministerial colleagues and all of our other political colleagues as well. And there's been the accusation that this current administration is basically cherry picking who to scapegoat, really. And there are lots of people who were part of the political system during Desiani's time, who are still part of the political system now, and who have had noises made around sort of their financial dealings, but nothing is happening in that regard. So the premise of your question is largely on the money. It seems as though, right, this is sort of a calculated strategy to pick on sort of the stars, right, of the era that preceded the one that we're in now, and nothing fundamental in the way of reform to ensure that every couple of years, we aren't looking for, Nigerian assets in the hands of, political minders, ensuring that doesn't happen. Nothing is really happening, right in that light.
That's one more
Break.
question.
Yeah, we'll take a break now. Let's go on. Let's digest this one. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to party right from the comfort of your TV screen? The Rundown's here to save the day. From freshly baked videos to the classics to the youngins and dope conversations, all in one chart. We got you covered. Just tune in to The Rundown every Friday, 10:30 p.m. West African time. The Rundown. Let's turn it up.
Now, if you just tune in, we're having an amazing chat with the chemist Tefyong on the economic implications of the forfeiture of Daisy-Annie's assets, and of course others as well, because it's not just her. There are many people. She's just the one that they have used as scapegoat. All right, so you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Please do not call. I don't know why they keep calling the WhatsApp line. We don't take calls today. All right, so I was going to come back to you, Norma. You had a question, yeah?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, who gets to benefit from the consolidated revenue fund?
Yeah.
After all of these, what's the process? Who gets to benefit from it? Because there's quite a huge amount that they collect from time to time when they recover some of these funds. So who gets to benefit from it?
That is a fantastic question, and I think you're asking the right questions tonight. So, in theory, like I said, the CRF is supposed to be like the current account, right, of the of the Nigerian state, both federal, state, and local government, but primarily, right, for the federal government. So it really depends on what proceeds are entering the account. So and why your question is really important is I'll try and draw a contrast between the asset forfeiture situation, in Daisy-Annie's case, and sort of, the asset repatriation, right, that countries like the UK and Switzerland have made to Nigeria, right, basically the proceeds from, from our time, right, as a military. With the Sani Abacha, right, case is Nigeria enters into specific agreements with these countries that these monies are going to be used for specific purposes. In fact, in the case of Switzerland assigned 2 agreements with Nigeria. The first one just required Nigeria to make a commitment to utilize those monies to do things like infrastructure, invest in health, invest in education. But with the second agreement, and this was because they had sort of watched what was going on in Nigeria. There were all of these questions around the solvency of the government, the ability of the government to do things like pay salaries, pay for the contract like issues and all of that. We all know that Nigeria is in a precarious fiscal situation right now. So with the second agreement with the Swiss government was able to extract not just a commitment from Nigeria that these monies will be used the right way, but that Switzerland will directly manage the disbursement of those resources. So instead of the monies going into the CRF through sort of like a direct credit, the Nigerian government was going to, in essence, submit a list of the projects and the things that they wanted to apply those monies to.
Okay.
And the Swiss government was just going to bankroll those directly, just to ensure that those monies don't
channeled appropriately
of erring political operators. So that's that with the Abacha situation. with the Diezani situation, a lot of these assets were on Nigerian territory. For example, she had a property on Banana Island that was seized as part of this asset forfeiture, where the jewelry forfeiture also happened. So she's also got Nigerian bank accounts that have been frozen as a result. So those are already on Nigerian territory. Those are already within sort of the sovereignty of the Nigerian state. And really, there's nothing that stops the government from not using the monies any way they please. There is no way for us, you, me, and everyone who's watching this right now to sort of act as a check or a brake on those governments. I had said the judiciary has nominal administrative oversight functions with respect to this, because again, all of this was made possible because of a court order. But this is Nigeria, really. Who pays the judiciary? It's the same people. So it's whichever way you look at it, the checks and balances mechanisms with respect to this asset forfeiture, right now that we're talking about, aren't rigorous enough for us to be sure that all of these monies will eventually filter through in ways that are beneficial to all of us.
Right. Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's where it comes in. Okay, so we have some comments, right?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Yeah,
Do
but
you want me to read
you
the
wanted to
comments?
or you take
Okay.
your question.
I should take my question.
Yeah,
I should just
take your question first, then you read the comments.
Now, what beats me is, aside of the asset being forfeited and being sold to be put back into the government funds and all of that, is there any way you get trial for such a case? 1, 2. There's a claim that she's in the UK and probably she's a citizen of Republican. Do you escape such charges just because you change citizenship and you're now a member of another country? Does that eliminate your crime and makes you free of the charges and the allegation? At least you go to trial. That part of it I'm not very clear. Why she can't be extradited into the country?
Back into the country.
To be tried.
Yes.
Okay, message. Did you get Tammy's question?
Okay, so I got the second question. The first one wasn't so clear. I don't know if you could take that, the first question again.
Yes, I can. What I was asking is, my first question was, she's now a citizen of another country. Do you get to get away from any crime just because you change citizenship of another country? Or is there a way they can get to be accounted for whatever crime you commit in a country, whether you're a citizen of another country or not? There's something I understand that they call it extradition.
Yeah.
So does that not take effect in this case, or is it just enough that she gets to forfeit all those assets? Is that enough
For the crimes.
For the crime,
Okay,
yeah.
right. So I'll answer that question based on a number of assumptions, right? It's there are details about Diezani's whereabouts or living conditions that are quite clear. But from what we know right now, let's assume that she is in the United Kingdom, right, as reports suggest. The UK and Nigeria have an extradition treaty, actually. So in theory, what that means is that the Nigerian government can make a request formally to the United Kingdom, asking that the United Kingdom extradite, Diezani back to Nigeria to face, trial. This has been known to happen in the past. Secondly, depending on the terms of the extradition treaty, I'm not very familiar, with the terms. There are some treaties that provide for countries to outsource their, outsource their judicial powers in such a way where, for example, if you have to, let's assume, again, let's use the UK-Nigeria situation. Nigeria could make a request to the UK to ask them to enable their judicial system to, charge and, hear matters concerning, this case and this person in question. Now, where we enter the realm of assumption is, a couple of things. One, we don't know if Diezani has relinquished her Nigerian citizenship. That's possible. If she has, the process of getting her back to Nigeria to face trial becomes a lot more difficult, at least legally. there have been reports that she's, acquired the citizenship of, a Caribbean country. For example, if that country doesn't have an extradition treaty with Nigeria, it's not legally compelled to send her back to Nigeria. If she ends up traveling to any country around the world, even if she's not a citizen of that country, that doesn't have an extradition treaty with Nigeria, that country is not necessarily compelled to do so.
Very interesting.
How Nigeria can kind of go about that now is Nigeria is a member of Interpol, the International Police Organization, right? The vast majority of countries are members of Interpol. Nigeria can issue what is called, an Interpol Red Notice, which is basically the equivalent of, an arrest warrant, right? But of an international kind. So when you issue a Red Notice, every other Interpol member country is duty bound as a matter of treaty, right, to arrest Dezani if she steps on their shores and send her back to the issuing country, in this case, us, Nigeria. So there are a couple of levers that could sort of be pulled, right, in this regard. If Nigeria makes a strong enough, a legal case, right, against her, the UK can decide to take things up, right, and use their judicial system to sort of, answer those questions, and if possible, incarcerate her there. Again, all of this is assumptions. Desiani is entitled to the presumption of innocence, which all Nigerians are. And so, nothing is guaranteed. I should say, though, that we have done this in the past. James Ibori, and the UK sort of took care of that legally, and he served time in the UK and forfeited assets, not only in the UK, but also in Nigeria as a result.
So I was going to ask the chemist, because, when you were talking about, when you were answering one of the Norma's question, when you talked about how some of these things happen, like the way the Swiss government said, you know what, give us the projects you want to do, we'll bankroll those projects. I mean, for me, that is telling me, okay, there's some level of transparency for us to be able to be clear that, yes, the money that is being repatriated would be used to duly, for whatever it is that they say, okay, they would market for. So in the case of properties that the EFCC sees, because I don't even want to restrict it only to Desiani.
Yeah.
We have corrupt officials within the EFCC. If I enter a room and I see bundles of $100 bills.
How much is really?
What is the guarantee that I will not keep like 50 bundles first before I declare that I only saw 10 bundles? And because the people the lootee cannot come and tell you, no, I didn't steal 1 billion. All I stole was 100 million. Do you understand?
No confirmation.
So there is no transparency in some of these things. So how do we ensure that even with the process of the auctioning, and all of that? Because, I mean, somebody was talking about LASMA seizing cars and saying that sometimes they just be praying that the LASMA boss does, the LASMA official does not have a girlfriend that is trying to please at that time, because they will just, they might as well just take your car, if it's a correct car, and go and give it to their girlfriend, and they've auctioned it, and nobody cares anymore, because it's not something that is properly documented.
And it's not publicly.
You understand? So, we are not good with documentation and keeping a very clean process. So walk us through that, all of those things, that process of acquiring some of these assets, then even the auctioning and all of that. How transparent can that be? What is the role of transparency? What role does it play in it? Oh, did we lose the chemist? Oh, sugar, I think. Okay, you're there? Okay, go ahead.
I can hear you clearly. I heard everything you said. Right, so I wish I had a great answer for you, to be honest, ladies. I really, really wish. But this is sort of where the Nigerian factor really comes in. But there are a couple of things that we can start doing, right? One is we can start doing a better job of charging and punishing mid-level officers in agencies like the EFCC, right, for diverting, these resources that should be properly declared. And we've done that in the past. I know there was a very popular case, I think it was towards the tail end of last year, right, of an EFCC official in Port Harcourt who was charged to court and was actually convicted, right, of, diverting confiscated monies, right, from from someone who was suspected of having committed financial fraud. So we've done that. Just yesterday in I think it was in Ilorin. I'm trying to remember the city right now. right? Yeah, but somewhere in the north central, okay, it was in Lokoja. Yeah, I've got the name now. So in Lokoja, an official of the Abuja Electric, distribution company was sentenced to 6 months in prison for unlawfully disconnecting a customer who had paid 200,000 naira 300,000 naira, I beg your pardon, in electricity bills in February alone. So it's like we need more of those things to happen so that you would have officials in federal agencies like this that, get to see a lot of money, shuffle, across their desk to realize that you really can't get away with this in, the Nigeria of 2021. Unfortunately, these cases are few and far between. So we need to do a better job of doing that. Secondly, and this is specific to the EFCC in this case, and this has been a criticism of their system. They are very good at letting you know what they want you to know.
Right.
And they don't do a good enough job of explaining the process to Nigerians. And so, we see all of these numbers, 14 billion naira. There was a time when, the famous Ikoyi mansion where, monies were found in dollars and pounds and euros and naira.
The whistleblowing era.
It's really, thereabouts. And we take all of these numbers to the market. We run with them, on the front pages of our newspapers and online and on social media. We talk about them on ways, and then 2 years after or 3 years after, nobody really knows what has become of those monies. First, lots of Nigerians don't know the process. No. So having programs like this where you can have people like me, and this is not really me beating, sort of like louding my trumpet, but it is what it really is. Having people sort of explain what should happen after we've heard so and so billion nairas have been found helps. And then secondly, also having, people like civil society and media organizations file, freedom of information requests, so that sort of compels, these agencies to be more transparent. Those things would sort of help. The real big catch, though, would be if these agencies fundamentally reform and they are run more efficiently.
Absolutely.
And that takes the stress off of, trying to figure out what they are up to. That would be the best case scenario, really.
All right, so let's take some comments. I don't know. Norma, you have a comment?
Yes, I do have a comment, and this is from Taraba State, Jalingo. Bobby Kennedy says, my sisters at Ways Plus TV, well done. The problem with our so-called leaders in Nigeria is greed, selfishness, wickedness, impunity. That word again, to name a few. Okay, I can only imagine how many they are. For God's sake, how on earth can just one individual, a woman for that matter, though the men do more of the crooky stuff just to punish Nigerians, the economic implications is massively hard on our economy. May God help us.
Absolutely.
That's from Bobby Kennedy in Jalingo.
Yeah. Dami, have a comment?
I have another one similar, I think from the same guy.
Yeah.
And he says another problem with this forfeiture that the government are doing is that they will still reloot the proceeds amongst themselves. Case study with their Abacha loots, and so on and so forth. No be juju be that. Una, well done, great ladies.
Thank you.
Plus TV. Thank you so much.
All right, so this is Delta State. It says is Austin from Delta. It says my take is that public officers, especially politically exposed persons, should be subjected to declare their asset before and after leaving office. Again, government should stop grabbing headlines by telling us about seizures and get public assurance that that loots are not relooted, as has been the case in the past. So this is the fear that a lot of people have about relooting the looted.
Absolutely.
You have a final question.
Yeah, and I think it's not a question, it's just a concern that how do we put measures in place to ensure accountability? Like I said, who's going to bail that cat? How do we even, we don't have a system of government that is totally accountable to the citizen, where people can question the government and they would answer. We have a serious situation of where there's a concern even on social media and the leaders just look away, so to speak.
So, Ikemesi, you want to say something on that so that we can run up?
Thankfully, we have Ikemesi. No, it's just in line with what Lola was saying. That I mean, how can our leaders be held accountable in situations like this? So that we know that because these things somebody has to be held accountable.
Yeah, because there's a lot of impact on the economy.
Laws, are there laws or policies that drive such, and why aren't they implemented
I reckon
as well?
It's just that the on paper.
It's the willpower. So, Ikemesi, we have like a minute to wrap up. So just kind of tie up that concern that Milola and Norma raised.
Okay, so I'll just say in finality, a lot of the laws and regulations already exist.
Absolutely.
And Nigeria on paper has some of the strongest legal requirements in terms of financial disclosure and accountability. It's that willpower that is the real issue, and someone has to start it from somewhere. Unfortunately, why the political class hasn't been incentivized to encourage good behavior is, first, almost everyone is tainted. Secondly, enshrining strong enforcement will require you would also require you to, catch some of your friends, in on the net. So when you've got people that are funding your political campaigns every 4 years, are advising you on how to set regulation and policy, are on speed dial whenever you have a political need or requirement, how are you really going to enforce the laws against them? It's not possible, right? So, I don't have a good answer for where we evolve that political willpower from, but I do know that, a certain generation of, Nigerian political leaders have to come to that consensus and say, okay, we are going to be the first one in Nigeria's, post-independence history who will do a good job of enforcing the rules. Will it affect us disproportionately? Yes. Absolutely. Will it lead to us creating a better country?
Yes.
In the long run, yes, as well.
Thank you so much. I think that's a fantastic way to wrap the conversation. Thank you again, the friend of the house, Ikemesi Tefiam. always a pleasure having you. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Milola. We had a fantastic conversation. I'm going to go and party. All right, but before we go and party, do ensure you follow us on Instagram. It's at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, we're planning a giveaway to say thank you to you for believing in the Waze brand and watching, and following the conversation. Do well to follow us. Follow us now. It's at PlusTvAfrica. Like, share, invite your friends and family to follow us as well. And thank you to everyone that sent the comments. Sorry we couldn't take all the comments. All right, so if you missed today's quote, here it is again. Property is in its nature timid and seeks protection, and nothing is more gratifying to the government than to become a protector. Please, we're asking our government protect our public properties. All right, we'll see you next time as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Ciao.